Welcome back, boys and girls. Come and join me as we take a journey down a dark road with these 5 allegedly true paranormal stories from Reddit. Let's all sit back, relax, and let the darkness take hold. The strongest and scariest spirit I've ever encountered. Massachusetts 2018-2019 college school year. Student housing apartments that were basically converted old houses. There was a cemetery across the street and one next door. Rumor says it was one giant graveyard, but the street and houses were built on top of old graves. If you've ever seen that photo that circulates online of a graveyard right next to a playground, that is literally the exact place we lived. It is also the town neighboring Salem, yes, the Salem witch trials place. There's a ton of paranormal activity and a lot of tourists messing with the occult. Quick aside, I was born a psychic medium. My abilities have faded a lot, but they're definitely still present. I believe in the paranormal, but I didn't believe in possession, evil ghosts, or whatever until this happened. This was the first spirit I've encountered that was this strong and this dark. It was me and my partner, I'll call her Jay here, in one room and a single bedroom beside us. We chose this apartment for that reason exactly. It was a decent size for 3 people, whereas other apartments crammed 6 to 9 people in similar spaces. I'd lived in this building before and had paranormal experiences, but they were sad, not evil or malicious. I convinced Jay that we could handle ghosts if they came. The worst offender in the building that I had heard of was just a creepy old guy who didn't like people sleeping in his living room. And he even just kind of tossed small objects around at his worst. But I didn't know anyone who had lived in the 3-person apartment. I knew right away that there was an energy there. We both did. But it was vague, almost unformed. Maybe because of our own excited energies blocking it out. Maybe because the lights were off for a few weeks. I don't know. Our apartment was on the 3rd floor. Due to the weird old building, there was a set of stairs outside, then a carpet set inside. When you reached the top of the carpeted steps, you were facing a small hallway that had the open doorway to the kitchen. There's also a metal railing and metal spiral staircase. It felt like iron to me, possibly cast iron. At the bottom of this metal staircase is another hallway. You can either go through a door and get to the emergency fire stairs outside, or you can go through a different door and get to a different apartment. That apartment, we'll call the RA apartment since our RA lived there, housed our friends. So the first few nights we thought the spiral stairs were so cool. We went up and down and messed around knocking on the door, calling up and down them, etc., generally being dumbasses. Till we started to notice things. We think Jay noticed before me because of her depression. This thing, I don't know what to call it, seemed to target her for some reason. She started feeling weird and seeing a shadow in the hallway up the stairs. We both started hearing angry whispers, people touching us, and feeling uneasy around the stairs. Some of these experiences would happen to Jay and I at the same time, further helping us believe that we weren't just insane. Also, the kitchen being nearby, all of our food went bad unusually quickly. Like bananas going from green to literally weeping brown decomposition juice in under a week. Bread growing mold overnight. Meat going bad if defrosted on the counter for just a few hours. Pretty sure that's related, but I'm not sure how he did it. We started catering to what it wanted out of fear. It didn't speak to us, but we could feel when it was angry. And when it was angry, it wanted to hurt us. So we started keeping its stairway light on. He liked that 24/7. Nobody was allowed on the stairs or in the downstairs hallway. When our friend broke that rule, the spirit got angry and acted up. Our roommate at the time didn't notice anything. She sometimes would turn the light off before going to bed. Jay had nightmares every time. Jay's Nightmares, written by Jay. They were everywhere. Dark, black, terrible things. Disgusting, shapeless creatures, and I couldn't outrun them. No matter where I hid, no matter how far I ran, there were hordes of these creatures, approaching me at blinding speeds. It was so dark outside, but these creatures were darker than evil itself. Or maybe they were evil itself. I stumbled through the woods, tripping over rocks and falling logs. Monstrous things were chasing me, gaining ground. Every time I turned to run, there were more. I managed to run into a clearing, a small abandoned log cabin right in the middle. Squinting, I could see more creatures coming from behind the house. My heart sank with the realization that they had herded me into the kill zone. I was as good as dead. Fuck it, I'm not going down without a fight. I booked it to the house, kicking the little demons that lunged towards me. A couple managed to scratch me, almost blinding me with poisonous pain. I kept running, finally reaching the door barely hanging on its hinges. I burst in and saw that the house was empty, save for a couple upturned tables and chairs. They've killed here before. Certain death consumed me, pure hopelessness, no escape. I didn't even have time to shed a tear before the creatures swarmed into the house. A sea of black amongst the hardwood floors. I backed up, tripping over the leg of a table, landing flat on my back. It was a matter of seconds before they piled on top of me. All I know is it was excruciating pain. Their teeth and claws tore at my flesh, my screams muffled by the writhing pile of bodies. I tried to thrash, but the weight pinned me down. Everything was going black as I struggled to breathe, succumbing to the darkness. Sweetie, wake up. You're dreaming. Wake up. Both we and our friends downstairs started feeling strange mood swings. Anger for no reason, depression, bouts so bad I thought I was relapsing. Panic attacks with no reason. Jay and I started to get sick. We were both constantly nauseous and in pain. My vertigo condition was worse than it had ever been, making walking up 2 flights of stairs almost impossible. I would often get to the top of the carpeted stairs and feel like there was something pushing me back down. I thought I was just having some kind of health issue until Jay said she felt the same. Even then, we thought we were paranoid, until one of our downstairs friends told us, without prompting, that he's always felt like he's going to fall down the stairs when he was in that spot, like someone was pushing him. We had to get our sleep with our door shut, so he couldn't watch Jay. He'd give her nightmares somehow. Luckily, he seemed bound to his area. When he was angry, he had a little bit more room, as if his anger made him take up more space. She started to have days where her mood was strange, and all she'd tell me was that they weren't her moods. Some were all bad, further making us think that maybe he was just a vengeful man, not something more. I've never considered the possibility of demons before. I even took some time to try to address it with kindness. We'd both been especially sick and scared that day, so I made sure that Jay was behind a closed door, went to the edge of where his space starts, without overstepping it, and sat down. I don't remember my exact wording, so this is paraphrased. But this is what I said roughly. Hello. I can sense that you're here. I can't see or hear you. I'm sorry that I can't communicate with you better. I don't want to hurt you, and I hope that you won't hurt us. We've been assigned this apartment by our school. We're not allowed to move out. I know you don't like us in your space, and I'm sorry. We need the kitchen and bathroom for living in, but we can promise not to go on your stairs or in your hallway. Jay and I will keep the light on for you. We can't control A, but I will continue telling her to leave the light on. I would appreciate it if in return you would be tolerant of us and not make us sick. Especially Jay. I know it's your way of communicating, but it comes across as quite scary. I'm listening, so please focus your efforts on me. I have experience with other spirits, and I want to understand how to make you more comfortable. We're going to bed now. Thank you for listening. I know I had also told it at some point that we didn't want to kick it out, that he could stay if he wanted, but I don't remember where that was in the conversation. Then, Jay was possessed. I can't remember if this was hours or days later, but it was close in time. She was having a major mood swings between intense depression and anger. I was holding her down so she wouldn't hurt herself when I felt her energy change. Like her energy was getting stolen away from me and replaced with something dark. Darker than what depression feels like, even at its worst. This wasn't her. Her eyes were wide and scared, but also angry. Her tone of voice was different. Again, not outwardly, but just... It wasn't her voice, even though it was. She said, "It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me." Her eyes were staring right through me. I knew something really bad was happening, and I was so thrown off. I knew something that really bad was happening, and I was so thrown off that I let go of her hands. This next part is kind of a blur to me. The image of her completely unseeing eyes is burned into me, and her voice just saying, "It's not me, it's not me, it's not me." When she snapped out of it, I was panicking and crying. And then she started panicking and crying, completely not knowing what to do. I called my RA, and they knew about the paranormal stuff that was in the building. Jay ran out of the house and down the street between the two graveyards. She saw the graveyards and was like, "Nope," and started speed walking the other way. I followed in my pajamas, and RA ran out and followed with us. Jay walked around another graveyard, we're in an old area, and to the beach. But then she started to panic again, saying we couldn't go to the beach because there were spirits there too. RA called up some other friends who lived in a different building who offered to let us come over and decompress. We started walking that way. When we got there and up to their apartment, everyone started asking what happened. I told them my perspective. Jay said she didn't really remember. RA and the friends that lived downstairs let us sleep over on the floor that night. We were too freaked out to go back to our apartment, but it was also super late. Not sure what time, but it was after midnight. The next day, we called up our friend X, who's a medium. He's helped spirits to the light before. He claims he doesn't know what's beyond that light, just that he's supposed to lead them there. He's more experienced than me, and so I hoped he could shed some light on what's happening. He came over to RA's apartment. Jay was still anxious, so she spent some time with friends, while me and RA talked to X. I explained what happened over the past few months, and he was very concerned. He asked about specific things. Have you ever been scratched? I explained that we had felt pushing, but to our knowledge hadn't been hurt by him. It did make us feel sick, though. I also explained that I tried to talk to him, but he seemed angered by that more than anything. He did ask about what the spirit looked like, but I didn't have much of an answer to that. All I knew was it was dark. I had only ever met one spirit similarly dark, but that spirit left when told to. This one seemed either stuck or possibly just liked his territory. Me and RA took X upstairs when he asked to see. We left Jay with friends and strict instructions to stay away from the hallway since she was still shaken up. As soon as we got to the door and on the carpeted stairs, X said that he felt like there was a female spirit and made motions towards the wall separating the carpeted stairs from our bedroom. I was confused and said that I hadn't felt that. When we got to the top of the stairs though, his tone changed. He said he did feel energy in the hallway and said that it was very, very strong. He didn't want to talk about it in front of it though. He also tried to address it. Again, paraphrasing, he said, "Hi, I'm X. I know you're here. Amanda and Jay told me about you, and I can sense you." He kind of hesitated before telling me, "It doesn't want us here." X advised us to go to the town over to Salem today and get some tiger's eye. He theorized that Jay's depression was making her more vulnerable, whereas I have experience and could block him out. He also advised me to get strengthening stones to help me block him out. RA went with us. We went to a shop that I've always felt positive energies in, and both Jay and I felt the tiger's eye before purchasing it to make sure it was still pure. Some stones had been touched in Salem by something negative. I can't explain what it is other than maybe dark magic feels like the right words. I've never found that in that shop, as it was run by a small group of Wiccans. They even limited how many people are allowed in their shop at a time so they can be sure to keep an eye on everyone. We bought tiger eye bracelets. They were very helpful, though clearly concerned, and felt a little overwhelmed when we told them about the possession. Jay was still acting weird, really depressed and shaken and sick. Ari kept asking if she was possibly sick, like a virus or something. It had come to a head when we were looking at cleansing stuff. When she touched the Palo Santo, she felt sick and panicked. She ran outside. I went after her at first, then R.A. came to sit with her while I went back and purchased the Palo Santo and Tiger Eye. When I put the Tiger Eye bracelet over her, she suddenly seemed to wake up. She later told me that she barely remembered the first part of being in Salem. We don't know what was going on there, if it was her disassociating triggered by being possessed, or if he was still in there, or what. We had no idea. We each wore the bracelets and went back home and to the apartment. Life went on as normal, catering to the ghost, keeping all the food in the fridge so he couldn't spoil it, not talking to him since apparently he didn't like that. Our roommate, A, moved out. Great, we get an apartment to ourselves-ish. And nobody will turn his light off. No offense to A if she somehow reads this. I did like you, you just pissed off a scary ghost, and I don't know how I would have told you. Right before winter break, our friend who had been getting bullied in her other apartment got permission to move into ours. We told her before she moved in that there was a ghost and we weren't letting her in the door unless she promised to respect him because we are not dealing with his anger. She promised, clearly scared though. There were other issues with this arrangement outside of the ghost, but we also think his moodiness was messing with how we got along. I ended up giving roommate B my tiger's eye since she had no experience with the paranormal at all, and since she woke up with 3 scratches on her arm. I still don't know for sure what this was from. She could have scratched herself at night, but wouldn't there have been 4 if it was from her nails? Either way, we called R.A. and B called her friend. It had a liking for B's friend, kept touching his knee and caressing his shoulder. Definitely creepy, but not dangerous. We decided the best thing to do was wear the tiger's eye. B was to wear mine until I could get another one. We were not to talk to Scary Ghost Man and do everything he says. Of course, he got pissed again and possessed Jay again. This time was shorter. We called R.A. not knowing what else to do and he came up. Jay started talking about a girl. How it wasn't him this time, it was her. Over the course of a few days, Jay saw things and felt things about this girl. Jay said her name was Beatrice. Her main area was the closet and the wall in between the carpeted stairs in our room, directly across from the metal stairs and his hallway. She claimed to be protecting us. She liked having people in the apartment. She liked watching the college students over the years. She didn't want him to hurt us and tried to hold him back from getting in here. Inside our room with the door shut, her and I worked together. We could protect Jay, but not forever. We were told to cleanse ourselves in a specific way. First, we were asked if we truly loved each other and truly wanted to protect each other. Of course, we said yes. We had to wait for a full moon. She told us to wear all white or as pure as possible. This also meant no unnecessary items. We shouldn't have phones, jewelry, buttons, zippers, etc. We were to bring Palo Alto Santo, a lighter or matches, and our cleansing stones. For Jay, that was a jade necklace she had at the time. For me, it was one of the tiger's eye bracelets. When we left for the beach at the next full moon, Jay could still feel her, as if she was following us. R.A. had some trusted friends, and they came with us just in case of some sort of trick. We worried that maybe she was just another form of him. We went to the beach and gave the lighter and Palo Santo to R.A. We took off our shoes, and I was told to put down my cane as well. Jay led me to the edge of the water. We had to wash the lighter in the water, but obviously that's not a good plan. So we just did a quick dunk of the side farthest from the actual light part and gave it back to R.A. to hold. We also washed our stones similarly. We promised to accept each other, to be bound to each other, and to protect each other. We washed the jewelry in the ocean under the moonlight and put it on each other. We were supposed to be cleansed with Palo Santo then, but the lighter wouldn't work, possibly due to getting washed, or possibly because it came from the dollar store, or maybe just because it was super windy. We didn't know. We were terrified the ritual wouldn't work because of this, but Beatrice told Jay that it still was helpful. We didn't have too many issues going forward. Beatrice didn't make herself known often, though we tended to say hello sometimes just because. And the dark things stayed in his area. Sometimes he would act up and make us really super sick. Whatever we did worked, and Jay and I are still together and are safe. We moved out of that apartment in May 2019, and some poor college students are living in that apartment for certain months out of the year. So that's concerning, and I hope they leave his light on. The last house I lived in until I finished high school came with some dark times. My parents built it together and then divorced a few years after. I have a ton of stories from when I was younger and the small period of time my brother and my mom moved to a rent house while my dad was getting things to get another place. It was a pretty nice house with a decent yard. I will not try to bog you down with excessive details and get straight to the events as I can remember them. I can expand on any of these. With every night not long after we moved in, once the house was built, every fire alarm would go off on their own. Even after the batteries were pulled out, the ringing would take a few seconds to stop. I remember this happening for about a week or so. Should have been a sign. One night I fell asleep in the living room on a chase lounge and woke up to a tall creature in a black robe watching me while holding a crystal orb thing. I stood looking at it for a few seconds dumbfounded. I felt fear creeping through me as I told myself if I fell completely to the fear I was done. I forced myself to jump, and it vanished once I got to my feet. It was not like I woke up from a dream. I saw it, blinked out as I stood up. In the computer room at night, which was between my room and my brother's, we could hear something typing on the keyboard. You could walk up to the doorframe and hear it clacking away. It wasn't frantic either. It sounded really deliberate. My aunt, who doesn't believe in any of this stuff, was sitting in the living room and heard something growling at her from the hallway on the side of the house mine and my brother's room were on. She said she felt actual dread and had to leave out of fear. During the day, sitting in the living room, you could hear footsteps in the attic. Me and my 3 to 4 family members were just dumbfounded listening to something walk across the attic, then sprint back to the other side. This happened multiple times. Shadows. You would always see darkness that was way darker than the rest of the house. Friends have seen shadows standing by windows while looking from the outside in. Walking through the house at night, and sometimes during the day, you would have the strongest feeling of something malicious standing right behind you. One night, my brother was grabbing food and heating it up in the microwave, which was in the corner, so his back was to the entire kitchen, when he had an open archway to the right into the living room. He said every sound stopped and he could feel a blackness start to swallow the entire kitchen. Right when he actually saw things around him getting dimmer, he didn't immediately turn around. He darted out of there and felt it retreat. We were both sitting in the living room one evening. I saw a black spiky creature run across the kitchen. I started praying Psalms 91 and felt some pressure pushing against me, trying to push me into the ground off my feet. It broke after a bit. Time is difficult, but not more than 10 seconds probably. We both felt something coming from the hallway on our side of the house. When I walked to my room, I saw the last second or so of a Slipknot CD. I know, cringy teen days. I outgrew it, I promise. Floating in the air and landing right in the middle of the room. When I picked it up, something hissed at me. I threw it in the trash outside. After I moved out, my brother kept having experiences. One notable was he moved into my old room and had a door closed one night. He was alone. He saw something trying to open his door handle slowly. He kept it locked after all our experiences. Thinking someone might be in the house, he slipped out the window after grabbing his pistol. We also kept a bit of firearms. We have always enjoyed guns. He called the police outside and never saw anyone come out the front of the house. He was positioned to see the backyard to someone leaving. Would have probably been noticed, even though it was dark. Police cleared the house. My mom's walk-in closet looked raided, but 0 missing items. despite all the nice stuff that we had. Hey guys, your friendly neighborhood gay cop here, and I just wanted to thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to come and listen to these 2 paranormal stories that I found on Reddit. I do have 3 more that I'm going to be putting in my video, which should be coming out either Friday night or Saturday morning. If you guys want to hear that video, definitely go ahead and smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up to all of my videos that I'm going to be putting out. I do post bi-weekly, and I'm actually hoping to move that up to at least 3 times a week sometime here in the near future. If you have any kind of critiques or anything, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment below. Until then, always remember to sit back, relax, and let the darkness take hold.